speaker is Mr Graeme Baesjou, who is the Manager, Infrastructure and Enterprise Trade Start with the South West Development Commission. Thanks, Graeme.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry too much about the surname. It took me 40 years to learn how to spell it, so really all you need is the phone numbers and the contacts out of today's presentation. This morning I'm covering for Matt Lewis. He's our Trade Start advisor. He's currently in Jakarta at the function at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, where he's accompanied by 10 winemakers, 10 Southwest winemakers, 5 tourism short-stay accommodation providers and 3 local chefs providing some food and wine dinners, promotional dinners at the Ritz-Carlton to the sort of business echelon within Jakarta, and also following up with food and wine masterclasses for consumers. And then from Jakarta he goes across to Bali. So I'm not really sure why he didn't stay behind to take up today's speaking engagement when that was the other option. I don't intend this morning to drag you through the rules and regulations and the do's and don'ts of exporting, but my main aim is to try and trigger your interest in considering export for your business. It provides an opportunity for growth and for development and to strengthen your business. And just let me expand on that. Exports we see as complementary to the domestic market. The Southwest has a very strong economy, a very wide range of products. The domestic markets are somewhat limited, and new markets, I think, are certainly the order of the day. And in the Southwest, we have a significant competitive advantage. As I mentioned, we have a very strong economic base. We share the same time zone as multi-million population centres in Southeast Asia and China, which is a great way of doing business. And by 2020, the forecasts are that there will be about 3.2 billion consumers just sitting in Southeast Asia, just north of us, which is about 2/3 of the world's consumer population. So I think there's a pretty good incentive and a pretty good opportunity to at least consider the opportunity to export. I know we've heard China and Southeast Asia, it's bandied around and it features in the press almost daily. But that competitive advantage, I think, is not one to shy away from. And as a background to that, the federal government has produced a white paper called Australia in the Asian Century. It's quite a big document. It's certainly well worth a read if you are considering exports, and it provides some very good guidance and some good cues. And the Boston Consulting Group has also pushed out another very good report, which is called Imagining Australia in the Asian Century. And again, there's some very good case studies in that document. I sort of strongly recommend, if you are considering export, that at least you grab those and have a scan. In respect of Trade Start, it's the Southwest Development Commission has a contract with the Australian Trade Commission. It's a 4-year contract, and as I mentioned Matt Lewis earlier in the piece, he is the on-ground Trade Start advisor, and that provides the first point of contact using the Commission and Austrade to help develop the export opportunities. Those 7 general principles have an international application. They're not regional specific, but the underlying thing, the bottom line there, is they're all aimed to achieve long-term success. And that will just give you a look at or an appreciation of where the Austrade, what access we've got through the Austrade network, the global network. And we also work quite closely with the Department of State Development that has offices in Europe, the Middle East, India, South Korea, Japan, China, Singapore and Indonesia. So there's another complementary network that we can use. We can use both to do some market research on your behalf, and then to take whatever you're considering doing and provide that advice for you. They're some of the broader principles in respect of the Trade Start contract. They certainly enable us, or they provide the guidance for the Trade Start connection between the Commission and you as the business owner or the potential exporter. The second last dot point there, one of the key parts of that is the providing inbound trade and investment missions and that's been happening from China, and also the reverse of taking trade missions from the southwest into China. The former was bringing inbound missions was not one that were the primary focus. It was more focused on getting people out of the southwest into China. But clinching the sales and the contract was sort of not happening as rapidly as we liked. So we switched it around, and for many of the inward trade mission members, I don't mean to oversimplify this, but for a lot of them it's the first time they see a pristine environment such as the southwest, and simple things like realising that there is a blue sky. They see wineries, they're fantastically presented, they go through the winemaking process, they look at the agricultural industry, they develop some sort of an affinity and an ownership with the product. And we found that when visiting wineries, there's been many sales made just based on the taste, because they have that sort of affinity with the winery and recognise the value of the product. So there's a lot of legwork to go into that. Those dot points there, it's just a general guide. Roughly the first 5 dot points represent your homework. The sixth one is talking about visiting the market. We found that that's absolutely essential, particularly in China. It's almost an impossible task to try and develop a business connection or remotely, but via the internet and email and phone calls. It just does not work. There's a long process, and at times it can be tedious to set up a relationship, the people-to-people links, to build the trust on which to base any further business negotiations. So the people-to-people link is a very important part of that. And if you look further down that list, sales leads, well, that goes back to the global networks that I showed that are available via the Austrade network and also the Department of State Development. Principal contact is Matt Lewis, and his details are up there. We also have another competitive advantage in the southwest, and that is the Bunbury Jiaxing Business Development Office, and that was formed in about 2008 with a number of local partners. It's housed down at the Bunbury Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and if you have any questions whatsoever regarding export and getting into, it's sort of China specific at the moment, go and give them a ring or go and call. It employs, I think the main competitive advantage is that it employs a Chinese national, and it certainly helps in doing business with Chinese business people. A couple of examples, we had China Southern in Bunbury looking at the potential for pilot training. Their delegation came down, and we could see that they were a bit nervous about who they were going to meet, and basically we were foreigners. But to see a friendly face with us, Edwin Zhuang, certainly they zeroed in on Edwin. He settled it right down and really got things moving, and we're able to cut to the chase and talk business quite quickly. And that's one, and certainly through the work that we're doing with Jiaxing, some of those cities in China, significant populations, have adopted, one in particular has adopted Margaret River wine as the wine of choice for their major events. The other advantage of dealing with the Bunbury Jiaxing Business Development Office is that it can bring you up to date on the culture, the cultural awareness and the business protocols that are sort of a mandatory part of trying to do business, particularly in China. There are opportunities in the wine and food, agriculture, education, professional services, inward and outbound investment. So there is a lot of opportunity there. I just ask that you certainly look at your business. If you think it's for you, then fine, please make the inquiry. If you don't think it's for you, I'd just ask you to just read on a bit further. If you need some advice to even cue your thoughts or try and steer you in the right direction, it's just a phone call away. And with all the speakers today, Andrew's following me. Ashley's there. It's the top 3 floors of the Bunbury Tower. You can find the Austrade, the innovation, Ashley, I've lost it, the finance and also the trade start advice. So thank you very much.